Okay, today I'd like to make a little video about this 763 Bobcat of mine. She's been a darn good little machine. And before anybody wants to make comments, I do have the front tires reversed to the back because we do an awful lot of off-road work with this rig, and it works much better for what we do. I've been through the mill with this guy trying to take and make the bucket functions work. I went on the internet, and like in many cases, I found what seems to be pretty well kept secrets. Nobody seems to really understand how this BICS interlock system works for the hydraulics. And apparently this is one of the first versions of it. This is a 1998 machine, and there's other complications because every time I order parts for this, the VIN number comes back as a 753, although my tag on the machine, the original Bobcat tag, states that it's a 763. So I don't know what went on back then, but apparently there was some confusion. Regardless of that, we kept having problems for quite a while where the thing would just lock us out and you couldn't raise or lower the bucket or tilt it. And I did see lots of people on the internet having trouble with that, but I never really saw any concrete answers. So in the end game, we went through the wiring harness and redid our testing with 3 redundant tests, and including continuity, load testing. We can't find anything wrong with the wiring harness. We actually tested the hand controls. This one here has the advanced hand control system, and although it's very nice and handy when it's working, when it's not working, it's just a big piece of scrap #1 steel. So, not wanting to give up on the old girl, I have other machines here, but this one here, I use it for rough work in rough terrain, and I also have a set of forks for it and a hydraulic scrap grapple and some other attachments and a big cleanup bucket. So I really wanted to keep this as opposed to just counting on my other units, which are in much better shape, and I don't want to beat on them. So it was pretty imperative to find an answer to this. In the end, I spent some money. We thought, we were pretty sure we were having a problem with the lift motors. It has these drive motors called actuators. This side is what mounts onto the valve body, and then you bolts on the inside of the machine. If you start taking your machine apart, you'll find them. They're in a tough place, but if you take it out as a unit, it comes out pretty good. It's actually better than trying to separate it in the tractor. These motors actually, if you hot wire the motors, they actually go in and out like you'd expect. We thought one of these had a bad coil in it because it seemed that if we overrode it by pinpointing, testing it back and forth a few times, then we could relock the interlock valve, and the thing would work sometimes all day long. So I figured that it had to be the raise and lower actuator. There was some talk that they had problems with dirt getting in there and making them work slow and stiff. And if these don't work exactly the way they're supposed to, they go out of sync. The controller has to see these move when they're called upon by the hand controls. If they don't move, or if they stop momentarily in between the movement, they'll lock the signal will break and they'll lock the machine out. So my answer to this in the end was to put mechanical controls in it. But before that, I went ahead and tried one of these actuators. I ordered the actuator, and when it came to the tune of almost $700, along with this adapter that was supposed to make the difference, we never could make it work. We never could get the things to sync up. And I didn't see where it was a value added move to try to get two of these at $700 a piece, taking a gamble that we could make them work. We also never did figure out a good way to mount them in there without taking the valve body out. We tried modifying this to get the pin through. We tried modifying this end to get the right throw, and it never worked. So if somebody says they can order you an actuator and fix you right up, don't bother. If you have this old style machine with these actuators, give me a call. I'll give you a good deal on these. If you have the newer style machine, apparently this actuator fits just about all the Bobcats from this model up, from what I can tell. But you can't even get this one anymore. So, like I said, if anybody's looking for an actuator, give me a call. In the end, what I did was I made these hand controls, if you can see them. Let's see here. I'll put a light right on it. There's your valve body down there. And I got, the best thing I found was the clevises that go on the front of a air brake truck. The reason why I use those is because they had a 1/2-inch hole that I could thread the rod in. Now it was fine threaded, so what I did was I ran a coarse tap through it, and then I put a jam nut on the inside so that I could be sure that it wasn't going to pull the threads out. And then on the other end of the clevis, I think you can see right there, the original pins that come out go through the 1/4-inch end of the clevis, and it worked out perfect. I just had to take the clevises to the grinder, and I took maybe 1/8 of an inch, I think it was, off each side, so that when the pin went through, there's a little spring-loaded ball that locks it. So it made it just kind of, could have used a 1/4-inch bolt and with some jam nuts, but it made it kind of neat, and I don't know what I would do with the pins, just lose them anyway. So those rods, they got a kind of a funny bend to them, as you can see, but I played with it for a couple of hours trying to get them to line up and do the best that it would do. A few things that you got to watch out for. There is a hole down in the machine, down right down there, close to below the shifter, the lever boot there, the boot that goes on the handle. But they're made to have the rods go through there, apparently. This machine, they tell me, could take the floor pedals. My old machine that I had floor pedals, but I never had any problem with it. And I looked high and low for a set of pedals for this. And if anybody has a set of pedals on an old machine that's either wore out, beat up, maybe a burner, if they had the pedals, the rods, and the assemblies, I'd be interested in talking to you. Anyways, for the moment, we're going to use these hand controls, and they work good. I got just a little bit of sloppiness in each one, so there'll be no binding. So the furthest one over will be to raise and lower it. And this one here will be to do the tip in the bucket. And I think, well, my arm is blocking the light here. But you get the point. I did have to make a little relief in the cab floor. It's a little tough, like I said, just to make it so they'd go by, because at the angle that I had to have these control handles back, I wanted them to be clear so that I could make a full stroke on the lever to reverse the tractor. So we're all good with that. The other thing I had to do is I had to have a way to have the valve unlock. Down in there, you've got your, if I get my light again, maybe I can show that. Down in below, you can see where the two little red wires go in there. There's a lockout valve right down there. It's very similar to a valve like on a lift gate or other hydraulic equipment, snow plows, for example, that have hydraulic, electric over hydraulic valves, like Fisher. My Snowway plow has almost the same thing. And we got suspicion that the control box, which my control box is in pretty tough shape also, and as you can see, it's got a heavy duty wire tie holding it in there right now. I've got to figure out a better way to do that, but for testing purposes, we're all good. Now, this wiring harness mess, like I said, we had everything apart, all the wire loom, comp loop off, but you can see my connection right there. There's a connection there and there. There's two of them. Maybe it's too hard to see on that video, but I can show you on the book. I have the big master Bobcat misery book here, and this is your multi-pack connector. There's only there's I think two other connectors plus signal wires for the thing that goes up to the that shows your test lights for scanning your codes and flashing your codes on the handle. But this wire right here, this bulkhead, is your main connector, and that's this one with all these pins. Now, I'll go down the page, and you can see if I get it right. Number 27 is the AHC, automatic hand controls status output. And that one there, it says 0 to 12. It says bar up, bar down. Well, that's the best place I found to get power, 12 volts, so that I could keep the machine, have a margin of safety, so that somebody didn't, hit the levers and have the thing start doing things or driving away without you. When the bar is up, it still shuts off the valve, so we're good. I did have to tie in another wire, and at this moment I can't quite remember which one was which, but number 19 is the BICS auxiliary lockout input, and the number 11 is the BICS status input. I had to tie all those two into power, and it had to be power with key on and with bar down. So that's where I come to the number 27, auxiliary hand control output. Now, when I turn the key on, the lights all come on, and then the valve goes off, and I hit the release button the way you always did, and the valve unlocks, and the light comes on the way it's supposed to. So my operators won't feel uncomfortable about that. They're going to complain a little bit about having to use their hands for a while, but really it's no different than my New Holland tractor that you got to reach and grab a handle, and they'll get used to it. We'll put it that way. So now I'm going to start the tractor up. Bear with me here. So you turn the key on, and if you can see the lights on that little display, there, the two of them, you got the one that shows the power, and you got the other one that shows the bar is down. And then you hit the release, and then that all the lights come on. Our problem was that valve light in the center would either flash and go out, or it would be out and wouldn't come on, and all kind of issues. So now I've got that working. So if I start the machine up, going that fast. So the handle up, down, and this one's to tilt it. I should show you that it can be very smooth. Okay, so you can feather it. You can feather this one. Yeah, I actually prefer the hand controls, or the foot controls, I should say, because when you let me shut this thing off. Okay, so when you're operating the machine, any machine, if you got electronic controls and switches and valves, and things starts acting up, and the driver gets frustrated, the operator, the machine starts doing crazy things. We've had this thing, all of a sudden the lift arms go all the way up, and the driver's stuck in there until he pulls that little red release. You gotta shut the tractor off, pull that release, and wait for the bucket to settle down. I'm just going to be much more satisfied with it being mechanical. The trick was to make sure that I wired it right and did not lose my auxiliary hydraulics. Like I said, I have equipment that I hook on to these fittings to run. There's well, I do want to get a snowblower for this. I haven't got one yet, but I have a scrap grapple that I need that hydraulic for. And also another thing that we use this for that the other machines can't do is I have hoses, lengths of hoses that I can hook up and adapt to machinery. We've used this to offload live bottom trailers loaded full of grain. We're in the towing business. We do light duty, we got heavy duty car carriers, heavy duty wreckers over there. So we could be out on a job and we can offload a load of grain with this into trailers or wagon or whatever we have to do. The other thing that works good, these little Bobcats, I can keep pouring hydraulic oil into the holding tank and hook this up to, we got several cranes and other, like power line trucks and whatnot that we service, and we can flush the hydraulic systems out under power and flush out each cylinder individually. It works very well. Just put a catch bucket underneath the return hose on the machine that we're doing and just pump all the hydraulic through. We can actually operate the cranes in every function with this Bobcat. It has plenty of pressure and volume enough, so pretty essential. I got the machine back going. It was just really frustrating I don't like spending money on parts that don't do anything. Now I've got this actuator here, just going to be a paperweight on my desk, I suppose. But if anybody else has got a problem with one of these things, I didn't have a lot of luck at the local dealers, not their doing. They just took over the franchise. And the people that got out of the Bobcat franchise locally didn't want to even talk about them anymore. So I called the field rep, and he was the most helpful. He helped me understand what that controller was supposed to be doing, what those handles were trying to do. So once I knew what they were trying to achieve for an end result, it all made a little more sense, because trying to understand it just by reading the book, it will confuse you. So anybody had any questions, I'd be happy to help if I can, because YouTube's been really good to me. So, like I said, she got a little rust on her, but she runs darn good, and she does everything I want her to do. Till the next conundrum, I'm done for today. Thank you.